Hello, everyone. Sorry for being 2 minutes late. I had a panic attack. I couldn't find this amazing t-shirt tonight, which is supporting Iron Temper. So tonight we've got like a pretty cool one. Like Iron Temper has been around for about a year now. It's a year's birthday. Marty is on his way to getting a bodysuit from Horitoshi over in Japan. So he's got a real interesting story. So we're going to find out a little bit what he did before tattooing, why he went to Japan to get tattooed, and how on that journey he created Iron Temper and the ethics behind it, like product selection, that sort of thing. And then we've got two really cool guests who are also from the Horitoshi family. So I'll introduce those in, and I'll pretty much let Marty take the lead in that conversation. So it's Tatsutoshitattoo, who is in Hawaii now, and then also Horitoshi, who is in Japan. So cool. So I'm going to bring Marty in tonight, and also there's some big money at stake tonight, people. He's got a big giveaway. So obviously I had to exclude myself because I would have won. But yeah, well, I'm just going to invite Marty into the room tonight, and I believe he might have Edgel with him as well. So we'll see what's going down. So just hang with me, Marty. I'm just going to invite you in. I hope everyone is well on this Friday night. We've got a double header tonight. After this, we've got one at 8:30. Talking chat and tales. So cool. So Marty should be joining us any minute now on Marty, hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Mate, thanks for, allowing us to be combined with part of your giveaway and celebrate your 1 year anniversary and all this sort of stuff. Like you've opened up this chat thing that we've got going on to some internationals with really cool history. So I think it's going to be a fun one tonight.
Yeah, it'll be exciting, man. Super keen.
Cool. So how's your day been? Good?
Yeah, it's been good, man. Been pretty chill. Just did the orders.
Nice.
And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Just hung out, watched Game of Thrones.
Nice.
Yeah, just pretty chill, man.
Yeah, cool. I saw on your Instagram page, you got like well over 1,500 comments and shares for the giveaway, which is amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at Edgel right now because he's helping me do the draw. So he's like pulling his hair out going, dude, there's too many comments. It's like he has to
he's just writing down all the names on a bit of paper and folding them up and putting them into
We were going to do that idea. But now we found this website that's allowing us to do it, and we'll present it in a bit. But yeah, man, cool. It's like it's been crazy, like the response from everyone. But I just want to keep upping it every year, make the prize pool a bit bigger. Yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, it's as you know, mate, it's good to give back to the community that gives so much to us. So it's super cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh man,
so all right, let's sort of start off like before we get into your tattoo journey. Like, what were you doing prior, work-wise, before you set up Iron Temper?
So right before Iron Temper, I had a restaurant in Newtown. It was a Hawaiian Japanese restaurant called Token Poke. Yeah, that was inspired obviously because of the amount of times I would go to Japan, and my business partner is also my cousin, has family in Hawaii. So we're like, being in hospitality, both our families have history in the hospitality industry. So like, you know what, why not give it a crack? But this is right before COVID, the first time it happened.
Yep.
So luckily we're like, look, it just wasn't going the way we planned.
Yep.
So we ended up wrapping that up right before COVID. And then, and then after that, I had a bit of time to think about what I wanted to really do, to really pursue something I'm really, really passionate about. Because before that, I was a high school music teacher. So,
that's right. Yeah, I remember now. This comes in later down the track too.
Yeah, so that was way before when I was heaps younger. So I was teaching music and I just got burnt out, man. Like I was doing it straight out of uni, straight into the schools. And then, I burnt out from that. And then, opened up the restaurant. We had that for around 2 years. And then, after that, COVID hit.
Amazing.
So during that time, Yeah.
So with all that there, like, obviously, I know you're friends with quite a lot of tattoo artists here in Sydney, and your circle of friends and stuff. Where was tattooing on your radar throughout growing up and, uni and doing all these jobs, and then talk
It's
us
always
through, how you chose Horitoshi?
well, it's always been there since the start. Like I grew up with tattooers. Like my family, my friends are all tattooers, like you said. So it's always been in the back of my mind. So like owning a restaurant, man, is fucking hard. So like, man,
Relentless.
it's like you put in so much effort into something, but you don't get many benefits from it. So I was just burnt out from that. So I was like, I need to do something where I truly love, and also what I truly love. And then, then I started slipping into the tattoo industry. Just because I needed something more fulfilling in life.
Yep.
So so going on from there, I started getting tattooed in Japan. So, man, this happened when I was young, when I was still a teenager, because I used to be fascinated with I still am kind of, with like Yakuza culture and stuff like that. And seeing all these like giant scale pieces on people is just incredible. So this is from a young age. So this is from when I was like 12 or something. So I remember when I was still around maybe 13 or 14, I told my mom that I wanted to get a bodysuit. And she was like, you really want to do that? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, this has been something that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Yep.
And then she was like, look, just wait till you're a bit older just to see if you still want it. And then when I hit 25, during this time, I already knew about Sensei and the Horitoshi family. So, researched the hell out of like different tattooers. And I think Sensei's work and the Horitoshi family's work just resonated with me the most. Just sheer power. I think that's what it was. And then when I hit 25, I sent Sensei an email. I was like, you know what? I'm 25 now. I told my mom, I'm like, Ma, I still want to get tattooed. I still want to get my bodysuit. And she's like, look, you've waited this long, go for it. And then that's where it started. Yeah. Ooh. Then I emailed Sensei, and then, he didn't reply for 8 months. And then after that, he finally replied. And then, he was like, come to Ikebukuro, come to Tokyo. I'm not going to tattoo you or anything, but I want to meet you first. And then we'll take it from there.
Yep.
So,
I think one of the characteristics of, large scale tattooing in general, but Japanese tattooing is patience. So it sounds like from the beginning you had the patience, like somebody now, it's like you've got like a rare mindset these days. Like somebody now might send off an email and not get a reply and just go, oh, fuck them, I'm going to get someone else to do it. But it's really cool that you waited and you stuck to it, and then, the door cracked open. So what was your first trip to Tokyo like?
Oh man, it was amazing. It's Japan's one of those places where it's just out of this world. Like the first time you go there will be the best experience of your life. Just like when I entered the airport, going into the bathrooms, I'm looking at the toilet. I'm like, dude, this thing is ridiculous. There's like a seat warmer. There's like a chime that you press every time you do a shit. I'm like, this is great.
It's so futuristic and so steeped in tradition at the same time.
Which is it's beautiful, man. Like one part of Tokyo, like in Shinjuku, you would have just like these futuristic looking lit up streets, and then right next to that is a Shinto temple with a beautiful torii gate in front of it. And I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is incredible. And just like the discipline and the overall hospitality of people over there is next level, man. So
I've been fortunate to be to Tokyo a fair bit over the years, and each time I come back, I come back and I'm like, man, we're just Western pigs. Like it's so clean, people are so polite, and in general, I always have a feeling that makes me want to come back and just try and be a bit better of a person, because it has that much of an impact on you. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what because I went there the first time with the Edgel, and we said the exact same thing. Like, man, when we come back to Australia, you feel a lot more disciplined coming back. Just because, again, you're surrounded by it all day, every day. Like, there's no littering, there's no one being rude, there's no, just no dickheads.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
You know, and then you come
yeah,
back to Sydney and then it's just on. And you're like, man,
yeah,
what the fuck?
yeah,
And then
yeah,
that's what makes you really cherish Japan for what it is. And then
yeah,
that's where the addiction starts. And you're
yeah,
like, man, we need to get back over there. Because you
yeah,
feel like, I don't know, when you're over there, you kind of feel like a ghost, which is
yeah,
like the nicest thing because it's such a highly populated city. No one knows who you are. No one speaks English. You wear a mask and you just blend in.
yeah, yeah,
You know, so it's super nice, man. It's a
yeah,
nice breather. And then you come back here and it's just hustle and bustle and chaos again. So
yeah. So,
yeah.
so talk us through like that initial meeting and consult. Like, did you have an idea what you wanted to get tattooed on your body, or where, or how did that process go? And what was the first tattoo that you started to plan after that trip?
So my original plan was to have a giant snake on my back because I was born in '89, so it's Year of the Snake. When I got there, I told Sensei the idea, and he was like, "No," and I'm like, "Oh." Just straight up no. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And then he looked at me like we got to know each other a bit more. And then he presented the idea of Benzai 10. So I started off and he asked me like where I wanted to begin. So I wanted to begin on my leg first, which is quite strange for traditional tattoo, like traditional Japanese tattoos, because you
Yeah,
always start with the main motif and then have everything else surrounding it. So yeah, so this was my leg was the first One Piece dragon that he's ever done on a person before. So I was like super stoked, and this was my first tattoo. So going
yeah.
in there, he asked me, he's like, "So this is your first tattoo?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he just started laughing, and it was like shaking his head, and I'm like, "Oh man, what the fuck did I get myself into?"
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's where it started. So yeah, so we scrapped the snake idea. I asked Sensei, I'm like, "Why don't you want to tattoo a snake?" And he goes, "I hate snakes."
fair
So
enough.
yeah, even though he does them beautifully, it's more
Yeah,
of a personal thing for him.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm like, look, I'll obviously respect,
yeah,
what he has to say and everything. And I was just like, well, we'll just do whatever you think would be
yeah,
perfect for me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's when we went through the idea of Benzai 10, who she was, who she
yeah,
is,
yeah.
yeah, the ideologies that she presents.
Cool,
And
cool.
yeah,
So
and that's
obviously
what it
like
was.
a big educational process as well.
Yeah. Like I thought I knew like somewhat, you know, to
Yeah.
something to do with Japanese tattoos, but really immersing yourself with the family, you learn so much, man. It's unbelievable.
Hey, we've just got a comment here from Family Adventures of Us asking, can you speak Japanese? And if not, how was the communication barrier? You know, was it an issue or was
Yes.
it pretty easy?
I can speak Japanese just to get by.
Yeah,
But in order like to spark a conversation, I've had to learn.
yeah,
So at the beginning, I just learned, you know, just the basic stuff, just, you know, as common courtesy as you would to go into another country.
yeah,
But in terms of like getting into anything more in depth, it was a bit difficult. But luckily, when we were first there, when we first arrived, Horishige was there as well.
yeah,
It was a funny story because me and Angel were trying to find Sensei's place, and we thought we found it, and we're like, "Oh, sweet, it's here." We're in this like apartment building, but we were so scared because we were like, "Man, like, what do we do? Like, we're in the presence of like the Horitoshi family." And then we went upstairs,
right.
and then we like couldn't find the door, and then we see this giant man with long hair walk towards us, and we both look at each other, and we're like, "Bro, we're fucking dead. Like, we're not supposed to be here. We're fucked." But
Yeah.
then we were like, "Oh, hello," all in Japanese. We're like, "Oh, we're here to see Horitoshi Sensei," and then he just looked at us, and it was just like, wait. And I'm like, "Oh, fuck." Just so blunt, man. And I'm like,
Yeah,
fuck.
yeah.
But yeah, and then we ended up going in, and then yeah, and then everything was sweet. So that's where the process started.
Cool, cool. And also talk to us about, because Horitoshi's right into his music, so I imagine
Yeah,
you being quite good on the strings, sort of maybe
yeah.
was another connection between you two.
I think that's the main thing that got me over the line. Because remember when
Yeah,
I was saying that I emailed him and then I didn't get a reply for 8 months.
yeah,
So I asked Sensei, I'm like, why did you choose me out of like probably the hundreds of emails that you'd be getting from people?
yeah,
But he felt like there was a connection because of music.
Amazing.
Yeah, so Sensei is a bassist. He loves blues, rock and roll,
Yeah.
country music. So I've been playing guitar since I was 12. So like I started playing the blues when I first
Yeah.
started playing the guitar. So I was like, fuck. So we started bonding over that. We started bonding over like um like blues players like Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Yeah.
um, BB King, Eric Clapton, like some of the
Yeah.
old school guys. Yeah, so
Cool.
that's where it started, which is awesome, man. And then from then on, we got to know each other a bit more. And then so Sensei has a studio, like a music studio set up where he draws and paints. He has
Yeah.
like shelves stacked with books, and he has all of his amps and stuff set up there. So we ended up jamming most nights. So he would be playing the blues, just 12-bar blues, just
Yeah.
and then just improvising over the top, man. And it's like so surreal. Like, I remember sitting
Yeah.
there one time, I'm like, I can't believe I'm here now playing
Yeah.
guitar or jamming with Sensei.
Yeah.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah, phenomenal stuff, phenomenal stuff. So, all right, let's sort of move on a little bit into like the formation of Iron Temper and like your morals behind it, even like the name itself,
Mm,
and then also like your product selection, because I know you're very specific about what you stock. Um,
yeah. I think it all started when I think I had an idea of what I wanted to do with Iron Tempo, even when maybe halfway through going to Japan, maybe the third year in. Um, just seeing the setup, the overall care with Sensei's clients, all the equipment that he uses, all the other tattooers that I've met on the way, I've managed to network with them, and they managed to put me onto um, a lot of like more exclusive items. So
yeah,
as you know, as you're a user yourself, you
yeah,
use iron needles.
yeah,
So I got that connection through Horitoshi, who
yeah,
forwarded me onto Alvin.
yeah,
So
amazing.
that's where it all started with the more exclusivity of things.
Yeah,
And then yeah, so when I was back in Australia coming up with the name, I was like, by that time I already knew that I wanted to do Iron Temper.
yeah,
Um, and coming up with the name, I was in the car with Edgel, and we just finished training Muay Thai, and we were trying to come up with a cool name that's tough, that's like
yeah,
not just like another supply
yeah,
tat kind of name. So
yeah,
yeah, we're just trying to think about, man, it's like Iron. I don't think we were listening to the Ghost Inside. There's this band that we listened to, and one of the songs is called what is it? Keep. I know. Anyway, this is hardcore song. Anyway, and then for some reason we just started talking with that name, and I was just like Iron, something to rhyme with iron, and then we just came up with Temper, and I was just like, that's so fitting for me as a person,
yeah,
because I think you can see it both ways. You can see it as like iron discipline, or as in tempering iron to make
yeah.
tools.
Cool.
So double innuendo.
Yeah,
Is that what it is? Yeah. So that's
cool.
where, and then we're just like, man, and then yeah, that's where we just started kicking off.
Yeah, amazing. And obviously started off in Sydney, and then
Yeah.
you branched out now doing all over Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
How are like some of the other products that you've used? Because we've spoken about supply stuff in the past. Like Alvin's amazing, and he can open doorways to other little supply avenues as
Yeah.
well that you maybe wouldn't normally. And it was really
Mm.
cool with Alvin. Like he checks you out. Like he makes sure you're good. Like he doesn't just sell his needles to any Tom, Dick, or Harry. Like you've got to have good ethics and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a great thing that you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you, man. And that's when I first when I first got in contact with Alvin, he was
Yeah,
very skeptical, because
yeah,
the first thing he asked me was, "Are you a tattooer?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not." And then
yeah,
he's like, "Then why are you opening up a tattoo supply company?"
yeah,
So this is where I started to get into. So this was all face to face, and I wasn't expecting all these questions from him. So he put me on the spot so hard, and I'm like, "Holy
yeah.
shit!"
But that's good.
But
That's old school.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, just straight down the line.
yeah,
And he would see if I was to crack or not, if I'm lying, or if my heart's in the right place or anything.
yeah.
So
And
yeah, so
I
we had
think, sorry, just before we go on, like I think that is something in general that is lost in tattooing to an extent. and also society. Like, life's pretty simple. Just be straight up. Like, don't be a loser. Just tell the truth, man. And, you know, and be honest. And then and life's a lot simpler. But, you know, especially, you know, the tattoo trade these days, there's a lot of people it's almost like hooray for me and fuck you. And people justify all of this weirdness to themselves. But there's no need. You know, like the supply business, like tattooing business, there's enough for everyone still. So just, you know, you have a good product, you're a good person, and it rolls from there.
Yeah, that's it, man. As long as you have good intention with what you want to do. Like, if your heart's in the right place and you're also, I guess, business-minded in some sense, then that should translate through and through. But, the main thing is you have to be passionate about what you're doing. So, that was one of the main things that really put me through with starting Iron Temper, is because I'm so passionate about what I'm doing and the cause. That, you know, I really want to do good things in the industry, supply the highest quality equipment to the industry, and support fellow tattooers. You know, that's all I want to do. So just run us through, like, some of the development of your products, of what you're stocking now. You don't have to give us every item, but, you know, some of the more the bigger ones that you're doing, and how that has come along, and any, you know, anything on the horizon that you can let us know. And then, you know, if Edgel's written out all those names, we can maybe even look to drawing the lucky winner, or make everyone wait till right at the end. Maybe we'll put everyone out of their misery and we can do it after this. Yeah, cool. I mean, like, we'll do it straight after. So you've got iron needles. So I got iron needles, and then after that I ended up getting lotus needles through Feezy. He's friends with Tom. So he got in contact with Tom, and it was just perfect timing, because I messaged Tom and I'm just like, hey man, I'm starting up a new tattoo supply company here in Sydney, Australia. I was just wondering if you're looking at distributing any of your needles. And fortunately, he was actually expanding to Australia, or looking for another supply company. But like Alvin, he didn't just want to give it to anyone. So I was surprised at the beginning, and I'm super grateful for Tom. And if you're watching, man, thank you so much. To put a lot of, like, faith in someone that hasn't even started a tattoo supply company, or doesn't even really know this person. But I don't know what it was. Something clicked, and it was just like, yeah, sweet, we'll have you on board. So yeah, from then on, he gave me distribution rights for Lotus Needles in Australia, which has taken off, man. Like, fuck. I'm super stoked about that, man. They're awesome quality needles. Then I had my own cartridges. I got Solid Ink on board. Got Vlad Blads. I got distribution rights for them. In the future, I need power supply. So I didn't want to just smash out every type of, like, inventory under the sun for a supply company, because I need fast moving things, especially with a business starting. Like, you need capital to keep cash flow going. So obviously you're going to invest in needles and inks and tubes and a lot of the more disposable stuff, so you can get that money back. So from then on, like, I guess the support has been unreal. So I've been managing to add more and more to the inventory. So now they're coming now. So I've got critical supply for power supplies coming in soon. I've got a few machines coming on board as well, from Spain, Mr. Martin Pintos. And I've got a few other things up my sleeve, but they're still in the works. But yeah, just slowly, bit by bit, just adding things to the inventory to make it full. I'll eventually add, like, the medical supplies and all of the studio, like, furniture and stuff like that later on. But yeah, just trying to make everything grow. I think it's a great way you're doing with it, just, you know, progressing slowly, quality all the way. We've just got a couple of comments here. MJ Forrest has written, from my very first interaction with Marty online, I immediately knew Iron Temper was my go-to. Marty possesses more spirit and love for tattooing than most tattooers I know. Fortune favors the bold. Yeah, amazing, MJ. Like, and I know myself, you know, man. When Iron Temper came on, like, you know, I'd get text messages, because, you know, I did a supply thing for a while, so I'd get people going, hey, do you know anything about this? What's up? I go, yeah, mate, it's amazing. He's got soul, so go for it. It's a great thing. Yeah, thanks, man. And then we've got Ash Moses, who's up on the Gold Coast, I believe, still.
good ethics is the basis for good business. The reason why you do it is so much more important than what it does. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
it, man.
cool.
And that's the thing, man. You get that sense of fulfillment every day, knowing that you did the
Yeah.
best that you could,
Yeah.
and you provided the best service that you could. So, man, I'm super stoked. Yeah.
Cool, cool. All right, so talk us through this giveaway because people are on the edge of their seat right now, and
All right.
you know, so what are the prizes first of all?
Okay, so third prize, we have a $250 gift voucher.
Yep.
That you can use on our website. Second prize is a $500 gift voucher that you can use on our website.
Yep.
And then first prize, to the lucky person that gets this, is the Vlad Blad Ultron pen.
Yep.
It's a 3.5 millimeter stroke pen, and it's one of the smallest and lightest pens on the market.
Yep.
So yeah, so you don't see many of these in Australia yet, just because they haven't really had a foothold, or Vlad Blads haven't had a foothold for Australia until recently. So man, this pen is super light. It's like 104 grams.
Wow.
But on top of that, you have 5 boxes of iron temper cartridges of whatever choice. We got some solid ink, grey wash sets. That's one of them. That's a 2-ounce set, and then we got the 1-ounce 12-color set. And then on top of that, I'll chuck in some like clip cords, foot switches, and then a bunch of merch.
Nice. No doubt one of these amazing t-shirts.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. I still need to make that crew neck that you want.
So we just got some nice comments. So Venzium is like, how damn good are the iron temper cartridges though? Hands up. And Mystic's like, and front row tickets to the next boy band super show. Makes sense. You know, unfortunately, we might be waiting for a while. Edgel is the front man for the group. So talking of music, Marty, are you going to do the drum roll, or who's going to like draw the rabbit out of the hat?
We're just going to, I don't know. Edgel, do you want to? Do I want to
Edgel in? Edgel is, you know, officially endorsed by Iron Temper. So,
Hi, Rhys.
Hi, Edgel. How are you?
Good. I just ate some pineapple.
Oh, amazing! I love pineapple.
Oh, hang on, flip the,
it's also my safe word.
I'm gonna flip the.
So, just to put it in perspective,
it's Elon.
I've got all the names here, so we'll shuffle it a bunch of times.
Yep. And then you just spin the wheel.
Yeah. Hang on, hold
so what prize is getting drawn first? First, second,
or
third?
We're going to be doing third prize first.
Nice. I like it.
All right, ready? Here we go.
Oh, good spin.
Third prize goes to Gaffy D, tattoo artist.
Nice. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Gaffy D. All right, second prize for the $500 gift voucher. Last Tengu.
Oh, here we go. 2 very lucky tattooers already. Well done. All right, the grand prize now. Hold on to your seats, people.
And then the grand prize. Here we go.
Here we go. Grand finale. This is the big one. This is going to help take your tattooing to the next level.
Ooh,
Harry Aranda.
Oh,
congratulations.
Harry, mate, it couldn't go to a better person. Harry's up on the central coast towards Newcastle way. So cool.
Awesome.
Well done,
Good. Congratulations, guys. Congratulations, Harry, for winning the first prize.
Awesome. And I imagine you will be in contact with them after this interview on how to collect their amazing amazing prizes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's an awesome fucking little wheel. Yeah, I'll contact all the winners after we finish the live video, and then we'll go from there.
This is a little Tokyo health inspector.
Hello.
Yay! She thoroughly endorses all Iron Temper stuff as well.
Yeah, awesome. I should make little doggy vests.
You should. You know, Sydney, everyone loves a dog in Sydney, especially at a studio. Whoops.
100%.
All right,
all right.
cool. So mate, it's so amazing to do this, and you know, it's like I said at the start, it's great to see you giving so much back to the community, and you've got so much support, which is well deserved. And I think over the years, you know, for 1 year, it's been an amazing growth, especially in this crazy COVID time. So, you know, I take my hat off to you, mate, and much love and respect. So,
Thank you so much, man.
oh, you're welcome. But with all of this as well, you have reached out to your contacts, and we've got 2 traditional Japanese tattooers from the Horitoshi family.
Yes.
So first of all, we can bring in Tatsutoshitattoo.
Yeah, from Hawaii.
Is this correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. So I'm going to invite him in now, and then I'll say my hello. But then I think it might be really cool if you two just run the dialogue, and I'll just sit in the background and read some comments, because, you know, you guys are all are one. So I'm just going to send this one out. Back to my internet stuff. Here we go. All right, mate, hang tight. The internet is going to be coming over the ocean towards you, and we're going to welcome you to Sydney. Hello, welcome.
Hey, what's going on?
Hi, guys.
Amazing.
Hello,
Thanks
hello.
so much for joining us.
No, of course. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Well, what I mentioned before, because you and Marty are quite well acquainted, I think I might just let you two roll together with you know, some dialogue, and then if I need to jump in or ask any questions from people, I will. So yeah, I'll let you two roll. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rhys. How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, good. Sorry that we've kept you up super late. It's 11:34 p.m. there, and he's worked all day. So I apologize, bro, for keeping you up, man.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Oh, of course, man. Yeah. So we just got a bunch of questions that we'd like to ask. So, could you just tell us briefly, like your own personal tattoo journey, like where you started, how you started, and stuff like that?
Oh, man. I guess to make it relevant, you know, I'm born and raised in Tokyo. I sound like I'm from California, but I'm not. My English is just good for whatever reason. It's my second language, actually. So, I moved to the U.S. when I was 12 or 13, I believe it was, and Hawaii was, you know, closest to Japan, so we came out here, my whole family and I. I'm the only remaining member of our family out here, though, because they all went back home because it was easier for them. And then growing up in Japan, you know, I wanted to be basically anything but Japanese, right? So I'm into, you know, rock and roll and hot rods and choppers and, you know, blonde chicks and that and that. And then, so when I first started, you know, I was into punk rock and heavy metal and stuff out here. There was like a small scene, a bunch of punk rock kids, and everyone had tattoos, and I was still pretty young at the time. So that was kind of like my next. I played music also. The same thing with Marty. I'm a guitar player, and then yeah, I kind of.
It's a family full of musicians.
Yeah, I kind of just like evolved into me wanting to, I guess, get into tattooing just through like the music scene. I really wasn't that good of an artist to start with, to be honest, and but I wanted nothing to do with traditional Japanese tattoos, which is weird in hindsight. But I wanted to do. At first, it was like really new school stuff was in back then. It was like early 2000s, so like this super colorful, really thick line, you know, stuff. I was really into stuff that like Phil Holt was doing, Marcus Pacheco, Grime, all those guys. So I started learning how to tattoo, I guess what people would consider the normal contemporary Western way with a machine and stuff. I met a guy, Max Kilborn. He was an apprentice of Terry Tweed and Tom Slick back at Deluxe Tattoo in Portland way back in the day. And we just happened to cross paths because I wanted to get into tattooing really bad, but I had no idea how to do it. None of my friends were interested in tattooing, and I was kind of the outcast always anyway. And Can I swear on here? Is that allowed?
Yeah, of course,
Yes,
bro.
yep,
Oh, okay.
yep.
Okay. So I was kind of just like a mopey douchebag after high school because I had nothing to do. All my friends were in college, bettering their lives, and I had no money, and I was working odd jobs. And my girlfriend at the time, who was amazing, I go because I lived in this weird place. It was a weird arrangement. Anyway, I'd go to her place to go do my laundry and take a nap while she did my laundry. Actually, I was a scumbag, and she was searching for jobs online for me because I was that much of a scumbag. And she goes, "Hey, there's a tattoo shop on here, looking for people to just to be receptionist or whatever." And I'm like, they're not gonna take me. There's no fucking way. I was 18 at the time. I had no tattoos, no experience at all. She was like, "Well, you should just send me your resume anyway." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." So I typed up my resume, which looks really good on paper. Sent it in. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll take you in for an interview." So I went to this interview, and I had no idea, what shop this was because the interview wasn't even at the shop. And I went wearing a long sleeve shirt, long pants, so they couldn't tell that I had zero tattoos, right? Which is weird because hiding the fact that I had no tattoos is a weird thing to do. So I go there, I talk to them, I give them my resume, we talk about it, and I had given them my really crummy art portfolio I put together. It had like a drawing of like a terrible koi fish in there. I think it had like one shitty portrait and like a bunch of other weird stuff that I had drawn for fun. And they called me back up weeks later, like, "Oh yeah, we'll take you in." And it turned out that that shop was Hart & Huntington
Wow.
here.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got my foot in the door there just as a shop help receptionist kind of guy. I still had no idea about tattooing at all. And the first day I was there, I met my mentor, Max. And he's a really old school dude. And we kind of hit it off right away because I just really love old school stuff. He used to like sign paint back in the day with Bob Moon and stuff like that in California. Really cool old dude. Anyway, I apprenticed under him first. And, he taught me everything. Like, that guy's like a dad to me, right? So he taught me everything about, because I grew up away from my family. So he taught me not only about tattooing, but about life and stuff like that. This was really cool. And then I tattooed, my way through life for I think about almost 10 years. And I had never gone back to Japan in that entire span because I was too busy. At that point, at the end of my machine career, I was into a lot of color realism, a lot of portraits, and a lot of underwater stuff because being out in Hawaii, you do a lot of underwater stuff. I was doing like a realistic turtle a week or something. It was crazy. And through my tattooing career, my first iteration of it, I had met Sensei because Max had another apprentice beside me because I was the second apprentice. His first apprentice was actually also a Japanese girl, Wakako, and she had met Sensei. So I had met Sensei through Wakako, who was like an older sister, I guess. But I was never really interested still in traditional Japanese tattooing at all. And then fast forward some few years, I've been tattooing for a while. I had won a bunch of awards for religious stuff and whatever, and I thought that was what I wanted to do forever. But I started kind of seeing, it's a combination of a bunch of things at once. I started kind of seeing the ceiling to realistic tattooing. Got to a point where I was like, okay, like I can do this pretty well, but the pinnacle of realistic tattooing is as good as your reference is going to let you be, and I was kind of bored, I guess, of it. I wanted something else. Didn't know what though. At the same time, the girl I was dating at the time had completely ruined my life, and I was back to being a mopey asshole again. And my friend at the time goes, "Hey, let's," because I was just being a fucking dumbass, moping around like, "Oh, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to work and die." So he goes, "Hey, let's go take a trip." And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to go anywhere." He goes, "I've never been to Japan. Can you take me around?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's the last place I want to fucking go is home. I don't want to fucking go home ever." but he convinced me to go. And in that trip, I had a weird, almost like a pseudo spiritual reawakening of sorts, because I was the first time back as like a grown man. And you guys are both in Japan, so you know. But if you're out past midnight, you're screwed. You know, you're not going home. I don't go out. I don't drink. I don't do anything. I'm a square. So, my friend had gone out that night, and he had come back at like 7 a.m. or some shit. And I was like, oh well, he's done for the day, and he passed out on the couch. So I went for a walk, and I left my Airbnb. And growing up in Tokyo, you know, Tokyo people are really microcosmic, right? So I'd only really grown up in my own area of Tokyo, which is the northeast, the downtown Asakusa area. And we were staying in an Airbnb in the Chuo, like right by the Imperial Palace is now. And I had never been there. I took a walk, and I kind of just started walking. I ended up at the Imperial Palace. And I went in, I kind of sat there. This is like midwinter. It's like February or some shit. And then where the Imperial Palace is now, that's where the Edo Castle used to be. So there's still, you know, ruins of the castle that are still there. The only thing that's left is like the foundation, I think, of one of the main towers. So I'm sitting there, people watching, and I have this weird, like I start breaking down. I'm like bawling by myself. I'm sitting there crying because I realized right then and there that, you know, I was running away and refusing something that I should have been embracing, which is, you know, one thing I can't change no matter what or where I go is the fact that I'm Japanese, you know. Mm. So in that moment, I realized that, you know, I was being stupid. And, you know, I sat there for trying to figure out how to redeem myself in the eyes of my ancestors, you know. And, you know, the only thing I knew how to do or still know how to do is tattoo. Okay, well, I want to do Japanese tattoos. You know, I knew that I have this big advantage because growing up and, you know, I'm born and raised there. I know the stories, I know the culture. That's a big part of it. So, and then I, you know, thought there for a while and said, okay, like I'll just start doing it with the machine. And then in that, the next day, I think it was, Wakako called me out of the blue. And she goes, hey, I see you're in Japan. Like, I'm going to be there tomorrow. Do you want to go see Horitoshi sensei? I'm like, oh, like shit. Like, oh, of course, you know, I'd love to go, right? But I'm nervous because I had met him before, but this is my first time going to his studio. So we get there, and then guess who's there? Marty's there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the first time that I had gone to Sensei's studio, Marty and Edjo were there. I think Marty was getting his leg tattooed. I think that was her first or second session of actual tattooing.
Yeah, I think second.
Yeah, and Horishige was there also. And
yeah.
So in that same moment, you know, I was in the same place, you know, with all these guys that are, you know, really good friends with now. But, you know, I knew that I wanted to do traditional Japanese work, but, you know, to do real traditional Japanese work, I knew it had to be Tabori. And I knew that I only wanted Sensei to teach me or to learn from Sensei because I just love, you know, his work and his style and the way he is and the person that he is. He's a really amazing person.
Mm.
But I also knew that was going to be impossible because, you know, to take on an apprentice in Japan, it's like adopting a child. Mm-hmm. And I was already in my mid-20s at the time. Sensei was already late 60s, mid-late 60s, I think it was. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, well, there's no fucking way, but I'm going to try anyway. And if he says no, then I'll quit. I'll go back to machine tattoos. Like, I didn't want to even take up to work. It wasn't going to be, you know, under his name. And then I think a year or two goes by, and I muster up the courage to actually ask him to teach me. And I asked him, and I was really surprised, but he said yes. Long story short, and now I'm a disciple of his. So it's been a pretty weird journey, if I'm being honest. Like, everything kind of I got really lucky, I guess, you know. I can only really say that, I guess, it's kind of like fate, almost in a weird way, because it kind of, you know, I went away, I came back, and now I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be, you know. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now, I guess.
Amazing.
Awesome, man. Yeah, fucking hell. Were you scared as well when you first stepped into Sensei's studio?
Absolutely frightened. Yeah, of course.
Dude, I can't express the fear and the like the dread that like leading into it, because you've read and looked at so many photos of what this is and it's in front of you. It's just so overwhelming. But then when you actually meet Sensei, it's a completely different story. You're like, oh wow, this guy is a legend. Like, he is the funniest person, one of the funniest people I've ever met. Like, oh man, yeah.
Yeah, he's
But
definitely yeah, he's amazing. He's an amazing person.
yeah, he's a great person. He has a heart of gold, which I think speaks, yeah, louder than words, because I think he can sense something. I don't know what it is, but when he meets people, from that like first impression, he can usually tell how you are as a person. Great judge of character.
Yeah. Well, yeah, with me just listening to you two talk, like, obviously a great judge of character, but it's nice to see that both of your lives have been impacted so much by this man, and put you
Yeah.
on a greater path than maybe you were already on.
Oh, for sure. And it's really weird. It's my first time meeting you, Mr. Gordon.
Yes.
But when I was at Hardin Huntington, I was tattooing, and I think, man, I must have been still like 20 at the time. I tattooed
Yep.
this guy, Lex Derawianka or something, right? And then you did his back piece.
Oh, yes, I did a
Yeah,
dragon
did
on
a
his back.
huge dragon on his back.
Yeah.
Yeah, now he's like a crazy tattoo collector guy, but yeah, so I was like,
He's now completely covered. Like, he's such a great tattoo ambassador. Wow,
yeah,
amazing.
that's insane. Yeah, so I think I did like his second tattoo ever or something. Like, it was so weird.
Wow,
Yeah, it was like
so
a neat
cool.
traditional thing on his bicep or something. But
Yeah,
yeah, I just wanted to
yeah,
say that.
amazing. No, that's mate. So cool.
Hello.
Marty.
Oh, sorry. I thought the connection. Everyone was so still, and I'm like, oh no, it lagged out. Sorry. I just had a few more questions, Rama. One of the questions I wanted to ask. Well, being at pretty much at the top of your game, and you're surrounded by top caliber tattooers, are there any tattooers or artists that you've been blown away by the recent within the recent years?
Well, I have to correct you first because I'm shit still compared to anyone else, around me or anyone in my family really. Because I'm the youngest, I'm the newest, disciple. So, I've only been technically doing this for about 6 years now, 7 years maybe, and everyone else has been doing it for a couple of decades at least. So compared to them, I'm really nowhere. So it's my older brothers in the family are definitely amazing inspirationally. Not only that, but Sensei obviously, he's 74 and still going, and he's still learning new things. And it's really interesting too, because when you look at each disciple's work, you can kind of tell at what point in Sensei's career they were around him, because Sensei's style has evolved over the years too. So that's always an interesting thing to look at also. But besides within my own family, like, honestly, what blows me away is everyone in Australia. Like, no joke, Marty has put me on to a lot of tattooers out there, and man, the neo-Japanese stuff that you guys are putting out there is absolutely just insane. Like, some of the stuff, I wish I was allowed to do, because I'm like, oh, that's such a cool idea, man. Like, I look at, man, like Ryan Usher, I think is the guy's name. I don't know any of these guys personally. Ryan Usher, Alex Rusty, like all those dudes. And I look at their work, I'm like, man, like, they're inspired by traditional stuff, obviously, but they put their own twist into it, their own style, and it works really well. And yeah, like, Australia, I think is the spot for tattooing right now. Like, no joke.
Yeah, both those guys are powerhouses, and yeah, Australian tattooing is up there with, I think, the best in the world. And maybe being isolated was one thing, but also maybe that encourages people to push themselves and Yeah, it's so nice to hear you say all these things of Australia. It's cool.
Mm.
Oh yeah, man, it was really neat, man. I mean, even Edsel, you know, what I mean, he has his own
Oh
style.
my
I love
God.
the people. Like
Yeah.
the prints, like man, like
Yep.
I need to spend money and order his prints because that stuff is
Yep.
amazing.
I think I think Australia's so diverse
Yep.
culturally. It's like a melting pot. So I don't know, everyone seems to be inspired by a lot of different types of styles and traditions. It's the same with, I guess, in food, right? Like Australian cuisine is more of a fusion of a bunch of things.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess that can be a reason to why there are so many amazing like
Yeah.
tattooers generally here in the country.
Yeah.
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 I mean, Hawaii's the same way. Hawaii is isolated. There's a lot of parallels between Australia and Hawaii too. But
True.
I don't know. The level that you guys take it to in Australia is like next. Is the next step. You know, I feel like everyone that's doing contemporary Japanese stuff elsewhere in the world, even within the mainland the U.S., they're kind of looking at what's happening in Australia and they're like, oh shit, like we need to catch up now. You know,
Yeah.
which is really good because it really helps raise the bar for the rest of the world and everyone else tattooing too. So it's a win-win for everyone, you know.
Yeah.
Mm.
We were very fortunate. The lockdowns, I think, have somehow encouraged people. Like there's a bit of a change of a mindset where they're almost like, fuck it, I'm going to get that sleeve I always wanted. I'm going to get that back piece.
Mm.
So there's so much big work getting done at the moment. And like, I'm excited, I've known Edgel for a long time. And now that he's coming back to Sydney, once we open up again, it's going to be so cool to see what he does. And he's just going to go like that. It's amazing.
Sure.
Yeah. He's smiling in the corner over there. No, he's doing great things, man. And again, like an adaptation of a various amounts of styles, made his own, which is the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Hey, Marty, sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. We've probably got about 15 minutes left for tonight
Yeah.
because I've got another one at 8:30. Do you want me to bring in Horishige-san?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll send an invite and see if we can invite him in, because I know he's been to Australia quite a few times over the years. So let me see. All right, we'll see if he is out there in internet land. So, and we can bring all you guys together.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully he picks up.
Yeah, and if not, we can always do another. Is Hawaii like open for business at the moment?
Right now it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
last year was tough. We had 2 lockdowns.
Yeah.
So I could really only work half the year last year,
Wow.
which was brutal financially. But luckily I had
Yeah.
savings and I survived. Now,
Yeah.
like you said, people are getting the backbeats they always wanted. They started in their bodysuits, so
Yeah.
it's been pretty great this year. But as far as the numbers of COVID and this and that, it's kind of it is what it is right now. So
Yeah.
it's been a little weird, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's like it anywhere else too. So
Yeah. I think we're just on the cusp of opening up because we've been like isolated. So now I think we're learning to live with it. So it's going to be an interesting 6 months or year ahead for us. So I'll just send another invite. It might not work so well, but and if not, we'll just carry on, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so interesting. Like my friend Trevor McStay down in Melbourne, he was saying, we talk regularly, and I'd be like, because you're always worried coming back that there's going to be no customers, everyone's going to be broke, and he's like, the strange thing is, people are back with a vengeance.
Mm.
sure.
People haven't been spending their money.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might not have any luck with Horishige, but we can carry on. So
Yeah. All good.
So how was your normal week structured in Hawaii, like work wise?
I work basically 6 days a week. I'm off on Sunday, and then because I only really do Tabori now. I have to make my own ink and needles and get my own equipment together and all that. So I take one day a week, which is Monday for me, and I just sit there for 8 hours and I make nothing but needles and I grind ink and I sit there and
Yeah.
do all the busy work. And all the stuff that, clients don't get to see.
Yeah.
And then I can really only take 2 clients a day, but I'll work on them 4 hours a piece. So I'm there at my, studio from basically 9:30 in the morning to about 9 p.m. at night, 6 days a week. So
Wow.
Uh,
Yeah.
Talking about Tabori, how did you find the transition between shading with machine to
this
going
is the
to
thing.
going back to Tabori?
Tabori is infinitely more difficult.
Yeah.
You have to control every aspect of everything. Not only the speed, but the depth, the angle, how you make your tool and your needle, how you set that up, and you really have to be more aware of the person's skin. Even the way that a person's skin is growing, you can kind of see like the grain of it. Sorry, my cat just jumped off. You can see grain, within the skin. You kind of have to follow it, and there's a lot of weird stuff that you don't have to do with the machine because the machine will kind of power through stuff no matter what. So it's a lot. I'm not saying it's easier, but for me it was a lot easier with the machine. But with Tabori, it's a lot more rewarding. Also, it's a lot more work for me. It takes longer for the client, but in the end, what you get is something that lasts longer, is more vibrant, and also hurts less for the client too. They like that too, always. So. But transition was really hard. The first time since it was like, okay, go home and try it on someone. I'm like, okay, so I brought my friend in, my buddy Dane. Thankfully, let me work on him, and I think I worked on him for 5 or 6 hours, and I maybe got like this much of a wind bar done or something.
Yeah.
And then it feels like absolute shit, and I had to cover it with a machine or something.
Yeah.
But now, the more you do it, obviously, the easier it gets, So I'm at a point now where it's just like tattooing with a machine, I guess. So.
Yeah, I was speaking to Shadow, Horitsukukaje. He said the exact same thing. So he's obviously started using machine. Oh, he started with using machine and then transitioned to Tabori. And the thing he told me was like, man, when you start tattooing Tabori, you have to literally unlearn everything that you have learned using a machine. And that was the hardest part for him, was because he was so used to decades of tattooing the same, like with the same method. And then completely unlearning that whole thing and starting from scratch, like that would be so daunting. Like I can imagine frustrating at times as well, because you're like, the results wouldn't be as it would be as when you were using a machine, but it's all part of the learning process, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot to, like Shad said, you have to unlearn everything, and you have to relearn not only the actual technical aspect of it, but your whole understanding of how tattooing works. Because the technique is, I can't explain it in detail because I'll have to chop my finger off, but it's completely, it's counterintuitive, really. You're like, this really shouldn't be working. If you tattoo with a machine for, over a decade and you go, okay, like this is how a machine style needle works, and then you try to learn to work like, this isn't, like, what? There's no fucking way. But then you do it, and the more you do it, and then you watch Sensei and you learn and do it again, you understand a lot better, and you understand why Tabori lasts longer and it looks better over time. You kind of start to understand all that. So,
yeah.
Man, I got this on. Speaking of which, when you were saying that Tabori looks better over time, like I have this Kiku on my shin. This was tattooed 6 years ago, and it's stayed in. Like that white, because I'm quite dark as a person, so that white stayed through.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And Japan's known for a white as well that is a little bit more special than what us Westerns are using.
Yeah, traditionally, we use powder pigments, right? And that are not. It's not like people think of powder pigments and think of like national powder, this and that, but it's not There really isn't, well, there is now, obviously, but there wasn't any sort of, like, you can't buy tattoo supplies in Japan. You can't, everything you have to adapt from someplace else, you know. So even the sumi is actually for calligraphy. It's not for tattooing, because tattooing, you know, isn't an actual thing, or it wasn't an actual thing. It is now. But even the needles, you know, you can't buy tattoo needles. You have to make everything yourself. There is no tattoo supply shop. You can't go and buy, you know, a tool, what's called a nomi, you know, the stick we use to, but you can't go there. It's not like a Harry Potter wand you can buy at Universal Studios. So it was a lot of trial and error, you know, and luckily for me, that trial and error was done by my predecessors, you know, all my older disciples and sensei himself, the people who taught sensei and people who came before that. So it really is a culmination. What I'm doing now is a culmination of just, you know, really thousands of years of history and culture, and just a lot of trial and error, you know. So.
All right. I think I'm just looking at the time. I don't know, because I can't see the timeline of how many
We've
minutes.
probably got, you know, 5-7 odd minutes left. We'll go to 8:10. So, one thing I would probably had something to ask was the way I see a difference as well. I've been lucky enough to be tattooed Tabori a few times, and you know, from the hustle and bustle of a street shop, a noisy machine, music playing in the background, a traditional studio is much more peaceful and calmer, which I imagine. Did you struggle with a mindset like that, changing of the crazy street shop environment to calm, quiet, controlled?
Yeah, for definitely for sure. When I was younger, I really enjoyed. I was working in Waikiki when I first started. You know, there's you know, nothing but crazy tourists and hookers at night, and you know, crazy gangs running around, and it was great. You know, the hustle and bustle was amazing, right? You know, you want 10 guys in the shop working together and talking shit to that guy, and everyone's yelling, and it was wonderful. You know, people were falling off. One guy's drunk, passed out over there. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But when I started getting into Tabori, I think it comes with age too. You kind of want, I don't know, you kind of want to settle down, I guess, a little more is what it is. So, you know, the place that I work now, you know, I work in a hidden private studio. Like, I won't even tell you where it is unless you're supposed to know. And it's just me and the client. And because of Tabori too and the work that we do, there's a lot more, I guess, depth to it. You know, with all the stuff that we're doing, everything is symbolic. Everything has spiritual meaning, you know, and all my clients and we develop a special bond. And I think that's how it is with, you know, Sensei, and that's how, you know, Marty is so close to Sensei and everything too. Because you're working with that person for, you know, for years, sometimes decades, you know, you really do become close with your clients, and you want to provide them that area where they can really come and relax and just, you know, be themselves. A lot of my clients, you know, work in really hustle and bustle jobs. And when they come and get work on by me, I always tell them we work together because it takes both of us, me and the client. It really is, you know, it's their 4 hours every couple of weeks or a month to just not do anything and really relax and hang out and really let, you know, whatever they're hanging on to loose, right? So I'm really honored, and I'm glad that I get to provide my clients, you know, that sort of space. And I'm glad that they trust me enough to, you know, tell me all their stories and, you know, listen to my feedback. And I learn a lot from my clients, you know, just about life and what's out there in the world, and their viewpoints and their way of life and different cultures and stuff too, you know. So yeah, it's been great, you know, working in a private studio. Sometimes I miss working, you know, with some loudmouth guy next to me and whatever, but most of the time I really don't.
Yeah.
I think that's super important as well. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no. I think, like you were saying, like that, you know, you reach a level of maturity in your life where it's maybe nice that you miss it or to go back and visit it every now and then, but on a daily, it becomes a grind, and I think also becomes maybe counterproductive to a progression.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it.
I think there's a certain sense of like genuinity, like when it's just you and your client. Because like getting tattooed in Japan, I was obviously like, you know, going and seeing shops here, it's very different. But I guess like building that like rapport with your client is the most important thing for Japanese tattooers, because most of the time they're not doing little bangers. Like you're doing a full body suit. So you're going to be with this person for a very long time. So like, you know, even when I get tattooed, and I know it's the same with you, Roma, where like you don't have your phone out, you're not listening to, you don't have headphones plugged in or earphones. Like works both ways, you know, like even though I can't speak Japanese that well, I would still learn enough just to like ask questions, or just to be in the same environment, just to take it all in as a complete experience. It's like, it's one of the most magical things, I think, getting tattooed Tabori style, is just the overall experience of just sitting there, either with like, I don't know, sensei plays either blues music or just has the TV on, but just the sound of the needles and the sound of Tabori it's very unique, and it's a very humbling thing. So yeah, it's bizarre when I go into shops now and I just see like the clients just on their phones, not giving a fuck about their tattoo, not talking to the tattooer, or even some like vice versa as well. Like sometimes I see tattooers with just headphones on, just not talking at all. I'm like, fuck, like it's so different to what I'm used to.
A lot with you know, younger tattooers, because I get tattooed with a lot of younger tattooers out here, and we have the same conversation where tattooing in the West has become such a transactional experience. You know, it's, you go to a tattoo shop, it's like, here's my fucking money, I want this thing on Pinterest, do it. And the guy goes, okay, fuck you, I'll fucking do it. And okay, see you later, or never, really, you know.
Yeah.
But with traditional Japanese work and any sort of the traditional work, you know, whether it's Polynesian, Hawaiian, even Filipino, any sort of the traditional work, there's a lot more that goes into it. You know, it's not just a transactional, like empty, like, oh, here's a design that I want, tattoo it on me, and that's the end of it, right? There's a lot more behind. You know, like we pick a design for the client because it suits them. It's what we feel belongs on them forever. You know, and I always tell my clients too, when they come for consultation, you know, you have to, as a client, you have to be willing to honor that design, one, and be willing to carry that, like literally shoulder the weight of that design, whatever, because it's going to be a heavy design no matter what, you know, for the rest of your life to your grave. And it's a really heavy thing, and a lot of people don't realize how heavy it is, you know, when they first come for consultation. But the people who do get it, you know, they really get it, and they really, you know, they love that part of it, you know. So I'm really grateful that, you know, I get to really, you know, I'm glad that I know English so well, because I get to really communicate that with my clients in the rest of the world, you know, whereas other people in Japan may not be able to really communicate that as eloquently as they want to. So
amazing. Unfortunately, guys, we might have to end up here, but thank you so much to both of you. It's been a really interesting interview, and yeah, like the traditional Japanese tattooing, like you're mentioning, I think it just runs obviously a hell of a lot deeper. And when those people do get it, it's almost, it's definitely, I know myself, it's empowered me, and it's sometimes it's hard to put into words. It's still very magical. It's still very spiritual. All of this and more. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And actually, we just had a question. Do you ever come to Australia to tattoo, or just Hawaii?
I have not been to Australia. I would love to.
Yeah, bro, we're still waiting.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, hopefully the whole pandemic kind of calms itself down a little bit and they can open up travel again. But yeah, I would absolutely love to, you know, tattoo in Australia. You know.
Hawaiian Airlines was just advertising on Instagram the other day.
We're going.
Taking bookings.
We're going. We're going.
That's awesome.
All right, so thank you so much. I'm going to post all the Instagram handles in the background, so please, whoever's watching, follow, share the love, that sort of thing. But again, thank you so much for both of your time tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us, Rhys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Thanks so much.
See you guys.